Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another recap of the Continuity Coffee and Chat. My name is Daniela McCoy, and it's a pleasure to be bringing you this July session. 51 attendees from across the globe came together for conversation with rich insights and real world experience. Let's dive into this month's key takeaways. We began with the question many communities are facing now. How do we rebuild safer, more resilient communities without displacing the residents who live there for generations? As disasters grow, more frequent and infrastructure ages, recovery and rebuilding efforts can lead to gentrification, rising costs, and the loss of cultural identity. Gentrification is widely considered a significant social issue. It refers to the process where wealthier individuals move into traditionally lower income neighborhoods, often leading to displacement of existing residents due to rising costs and cultural shifts. This displacement can disrupt communities, erode cultural identity, and exacerbate existing inequalities. Gentrification is not specific to the United States. The term was first used to describe changes in London. Cities like Paris, London, Barcelona, and Berlin have all experienced gentrification. It's a global phenomenon, though the specific characteristics and impacts may vary based on local contexts and history. The challenge of response and recovery after a crisis is especially urgent for low income and marginalized communities who often don't have the resources to rebuild or even relocate. They may not qualify for financial assistance, may lack insurance, or simply cannot afford the upgraded version of their neighborhood. And yet, these same communities are frequently excluded from decision making during response and recovery planning. In other words, their lived experience is critical, but their voices are often missing from the table. So, where does this all come from? Where does this conversation come from? The idea that after a disaster, the response and the recovery is really supposed to be for the people, but then those people can't reap the benefits of that response and recovery. So, whether we're thinking about a hurricane, a blizzard, a tsunami, what happens to the people of those communities after? And we can see things like the earthquake in Nepal. If you look at the recovery to date, that hasn't gone probably to the extent that they wanted it to, but the people are still there. And then you can see other areas where recovery has happened and there's been a whole shift of the demographics of that area. So, to close the gap, we discussed the power of engaging with trusted community based organizations, from neighborhood associations and nonprofits to faith based groups. These organizations can help ensure representation, trust, and inclusion are built into resilient strategies from the start. We also need to build in listening to our recovery, which I believe is easier said than done. So, can we listen to those nonprofits and faith based associations? How do we get them at the table so we can hear what's happening in the community that we are supposed to be helping to recover? I personally think education about preparedness can help, but isn't the only key. Even for those who don't have the resources to have extra and emergency savings, education on how to understand the warnings, the watches, and the alerts could assist in their ability on when to take action before or during a disaster. So they're not fully left in the dark. Topic two, we explored a fast and growing threat, cyber attacks on critical infrastructure. With threat actors targeting systems that power our cities like water, power, transportation, and healthcare, cyber resilience is now a frontline issue. So, what is cyber resilience? Cyber resilience is the ability of an organization or system to prepare for, respond to, and recover from cyber attacks while continuing to operate. In short, it's about bouncing back quickly and safely. So, we talked about how resilience professionals can no longer work in isolation, and specifically during these times of geopolitical conflict across the world, there has been a lot of insights to making sure folks are aware of the potential increase of cyber attacks. So, who can you work with? As resilience professionals, we should be collaborating with our CISOs, our chief information security officers, IT security and cyber risk teams, even governance risk and compliance groups, infrastructure operations, physical security and facilities management, and even communications and HR for training and awareness. From a local US perspective, the FBI considers cyber attacks a major threat to national and economic security, emphasizing the need to impose risk and consequences on cyber adversaries. So, during times of physical crisis such as conflict or the manifestation of natural hazards such as hurricane or tornado or flooding, we need to be aware of the uptick of cybercrime as our focus shifts to the current issues. So, if you're dealing with a flood, you're focused on the flood and not necessarily what is coming through your firewall. And so that's a really good time for cyber criminals to pounce when resilience and public safety is focused on the issues that are right in front of them. So, what's the takeaway? Cyber threats are not just an IT issue, they're a continuity issue. Across both topics, one theme stood out. Resilience must be both strong and fair. It's about systems, yes, but more importantly, it's about people. Thank you to everyone who joined this month's session. If you'd like to be a part of our next global conversation, the Continuity Coffee and Chat meets every first Thursday of the month. Until then, stay resilient and stay connected. Don't forget to give this a thumbs up, like this video, to comment. Let me know what you think, if you agree or you disagree, and to subscribe to this channel. It really helps to keep this content coming. Stay safe.